the bond. We question the denomination of the bond, given the events that are described in the report and the substantive interest of a single non-resident investor. The minister had been emphatic about his denials of the issuance by Shroud notes and quote, the 5-year, 7-year, 10-year, 15-year bonds issued in March, April 2017 were domestic bonds, CD denominated, and open for non-resident investors. But the statement issued by the Minister of Finance on 3rd April 2017 misled the public into believing that the bonds were dollar denominated. Minister of Finance, on realizing that the statement it issued on 3rd April 2017 was inaccurate, removed it from its website. By the time of this decision, the Minister of Finance had not yet replaced it with a more accurate statement. What is the substance here? First of all, in this Hansard, Mr. Kenoforata, before Parliament, made it clear that the thing was CD denominated. The insurance calendar that is issued, that primary document, says CD denominated.
Okay.
Now, by the time Sraj was dealing with this idea of the press release that was done earlier, which was indeed misleading, was moot, redundant, absolutely redundant, because all the evidence had been made available, even in the minister's response to Sraj, that this was a CD denominated transaction. So you ask yourself, why even this? I think this was another overloading of the report.
Okay. So hold on there, but I would like you to take a look at, whilst Roxanne is talking, you will look at the minister's response. You refer to the minister disclosing or giving the information in his response that it was on the second quarter calendar.
Yeah.
Roger Jenfi is listening, and he says you should point that one out to us because it does not exist in his response. So look for it and let's continue with. Yes, so let's hear from Roxanne.
No,
yes, Sam, it is interesting that listening to Kweku in particular on this matter, that we are interrogating the Shrag report, a report that they find favor with sections that favor their position and find disfavor with sections that do not favor their position. The same report. And they are criticizing the minority for not taking issues with the finder of fact in this matter that touches on the public functions of the Minister of Finance. It is very interesting. Now, what are the issues? A petition had been submitted to Shra concerning whether or not the finance minister, in the performance of his functions functions in public office, conducted himself in the issuance of this bond, or in his instructions to Bank of Ghana to issue this bond, whether he conducted himself to place himself in a conflict of interest situation. The matter was interrogated. And Sam, I want to ask you, there is no way any entity worth its salt will be interrogating a conflict of interest situation without not looking at your assets. Because of course, there has to be interest.
Yes, that's correct.
An interest in property could be corporeal or incorporeal. I keep making that point. It ought not to be landed property alone. And Kweku is saying that, and I heard my brother also say that when they interrogated that particular matter, and the constitution is very clear, if I have to bring you onto it.
But are we discussing the access thing?
We'll get there.
Well, if he's chosen to start on that note, why not?
Okay.
We'll get there.
Fine.
Yeah.
But you see, so let's finish one because I also have more to say about that.
Okay.
Then we go to the assets.
But we are dealing with the matter.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, so the minority is saying that yes, the report may conclude erroneously, and that's all we think. That even though he made hard findings of fact, he reached certain erroneous conclusions. We are not minded by that. But we are saying that the hard finder of fact concerning one breaches that the fact that the finance minister, in the performance of the functions of his office, in public office, breached dismissing him or releasing him of his post.
In specifically in page 139, Shraj says, after Shraj has said that they found nothing wrong as far as conflict of interest is concerned, they said that in view of the breaches of the processes leading to the issuance of bonds, the respondent, that is the minister, should take urgent and verifiable steps to ensure that all officials involved in the issuance of bonds at the Ministry, Bank of Ghana, JBR, which is JBR? Joint Book, okay, runners, comply with the processes and procedures for issuing bonds. So when Kweku said it is not actually the finance minister who ought to be blamed, it may not be correct to blame Shraj for saying the finance minister is to be blamed, because Shraj may not have said so. Yes, they may not have said so. They say that he should take urgent steps to ensure that all officials involved in the issuance of bonds,
Yes.
at the ministry,
Yes.
Bank of Ghana,
Yes.
the JBR, comply with the processes and procedures for
Sorry,
the bonds.
just a minute. No, Samson, there's an inherent problem in this. The minister can't control Bank.
Okay, you take your turn. Yes, let's hear.
Now, we have vetted our mind to this instruction or directive, and we are saying that under whose aegis did this happen? You are asking the finance minister, who is also a public officer, to ask other public officers to comply with breaches that have already occurred in a transaction you sanctioned. You have to go. And these are not mere breaches we speak of. That's our position. And it is shocking that others want to regard these breaches as remediable. Do you understand this? The Public Management Financial Act, we say that according to Shrag, it's been breached. Now,
Wrong-headed decision. I'm sorry.
it's specific. Well, so we are saying that based on this, the finance minister ought to go. If the president, if he doesn't do so, the president ought to do that. If the president also fails to do that, he will spring into life the procedure under Article 82. Now, we have heard all manner.
Do you find this to be a breach, where they say that he should take steps to prevent primary dealers who are also book runners or transaction advisors from gaining unfair advantage because of their dual roles as primary dealers and book runners and transaction advisors? Do you find this to be a breach that he has committed and for which he should leave his job?
Who controls all this process?
You are being told
Bank
that
of Ghana.
this is
Yes.
the practice.
Practice by
It is nothing new.
practice.
August
You see, the fact that it's been a practice in the past does not make it right. That is our
But you see,
position.
what I want, does he admit that you were doing the wrong thing?
Why?
No, I'm asking you.
Me.
The Muhammad,
Why?
during the Muhammad administration.
Give me the instances.
Oh,
They have simply followed
Hold
what
on,
was done.
hold
That's what
on.
they are
Give me
saying.
the instances.
since August
You
2015.
see, I am making a legal point. I am saying.
Let me give you an instance. Let me
Hold
give you
on.
an instance.
I am
I'll give
making
you
a
an
legal
instance.
point that
Hey.
the
In
fact that it was
2014
wrong in the past doesn't make it right.
The truth
now.
is, I wasn't wrong.
Let me give you an
the public
instance.
financial.
Now you are
management-
changing.
No,
now you are changing your position.
I haven't
Let me give
changed.
them one
You see,
instance.
I haven't changed.
Sam, and do I have the floor?
Yes,
One
go ahead.
instance.
Yes,
I'm
let
helping
me
you. I'm
articulate the
helping you.
position of the
Okay.
minority in this matter.
Let's take the one instance
you
first.
have
You asked for an
2014, you
instance.
issued this bond.
Yes.
The same processes went through.
Yes.
And indeed, Franklin Templeton bought 94%.
The,
Under the same.
the minority then were indolent.
But I'm
yes.
giving you the instance.
No, they were indolent.
No.
No.
So have I answered your question?
They were indolent.
Have I answered your
They
question?
were indolent.
Have I answered
The
your
fact
question?
that they slept on their rights to bring
asked
this one
for
back.
an instance.
No. We did not.
You asked for an
We did
instance.
not.
You deliberately did wrong.
We did not.
Asking the
Sam,
who was explaining
do I have the floor?
Who was
you are
explaining?
heckling me.
No, I'm giving you the answer.
I don't
Are you
have
done
the
with the
floor.
instance you were giving?
He's not accepting it.
You have
Why?
given, you have
I
given
have accepted
Okay,
it.
it's okay.
Indeed, if it happens.
Please proceed.
And I'm saying
Now go ahead.
as we say in law,
Now go
the
ahead.
fact that you were indolent, you slept on your rights, doesn't mean me, as part of the minority now, I ought not to point this out.
You're right
As
about
being
that.
wrongful in law.
You're right
You knew
about that.
it
Go
at that
ahead.
No,
Why? I was
You knew that
a
was wrong?
private citizen.
but it wasn't wrong.
No,
In
it
terms
wasn't
of-
wrong.
Listen,
Yeah,
It was
why
a
I'm
practice.
saying,
I've said
so
over
why are you
and over
citing it?
Okay,
We are
thank
pointing
you.
it out to you
Thank
that
you.
it was
To investigate a case of non-disclosure of all assets and liabilities by a public officer, Honorable Ken Ofori, Minister for Finance. I don't want to go through the reading. Let's have him repeat those points. Then we hear you say whether or not he has a case or he does not.
Report reveals in pages 86, 120, and 131 that the finance minister did not disclose all his assets as provided in Article 286 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and the Public Office Holders Act, Assets and Disqualification Act 550 of 1998. I have therefore petitioned Shraj again to investigate a case of non-disclosure of all assets by the Finance Minister, Honorable Ken Ofori, with copies to His Excellency the President, the Speaker of Parliament, the Chief Justice, the Auditor General, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, and the Finance Minister himself. This is a serious constitutional breach which provides enough grounds for the removal from office of any public officer.
That's a fee who did the petition and has gone back again. Now, the point is simply that he did not disclose that he has shareholding in Databank Financial Services Limited, Databank Brokerage Limited, and Databank Financial Holdings Limited. Right. So, is it even possible in the first place for Shraj to consider this second petition?
It is. It's a fresh petition. So it is. It is not consequent. It is not consequent on anything. It is a fresh petition obtained from some evidence that has been contained in this report. So, but placing this matter in proper perspective, Chapter 24 of our Constitution is titled Code of Conduct for Public Officers. That's the controlling headline. Now, 284, upon which the petition was submitted. Now, when it comes to 286, it speaks of a person who holds a public office, mentioned in clause 5 of this article, shall submit to the Auditor General a written declaration of all property, all assets owned by, or liabilities owed by him, whether directly or indirectly. A, within 3 months after coming into force of this Constitution, or before taking office, as the case may be. And a petition has been submitted in respect of a public officer. Naturally, that is how you invoke the jurisdiction of Shraj. Now, under this same article, there are sub-clauses. And it says that, and I will take you to 286 clause 3. The declaration made under clause 1 of this article shall, on demand, be produced in evidence, A, before a court of competent jurisdiction, or B, before a commission of inquiry appointed under 278 blah blah blah, or C, before an investigator appointed by the Commissioner of Human Rights and Administrative Justice. So
who is faulting that?
You are faulting it. Hold on.
How are we faulting?
You are faulting it. You are saying this does not fall within the domain of Shraj to investigate.
Of the
No,
complaint.
Hold on.
He
said,
said
hold on.
He said that
Hold
I
on.
didn't say so.
Hold on.
They ought to have given the original.
Yes. Hold on.
You said
And I
so.
indicated.
No.
Supposed to be very brief. I'll be very brief. They make a double-edged argument.
He didn't say that.
I didn't say so. Hold on. They make a double-edged argument that one, it is ultra virus for them to consider this. First of all,
It was not before the charge.
Then two, they are making an additional argument that by the discovery of this piece of evidence, that of course, controverted his written response, he ought to have been given a sub opportunity. But look, a judge has taken evidence, has said both parties retired to chambers, writing his judgment based on the evidence submitted, and he comes across a piece of evidence that contradicts.
My goodness.
Hold on, yes, that contradicts a testimony given by another, and you are saying that the judge should call.
In this case, he doesn't come across a piece of evidence.
What does the
He
judge
procures the evidence.
No, you see, it is investigation. Hold on, it is hold on.
So
You are investigating a matter.
look at it in that light.
You are investigating a matter. The man has responded.
Okay.
You are being cited for conflict of interest
Right.
situation. It's about your interest in properties.
Thank you. Right.
And you see,
Sorry.
So let me make the
Wait,
final
yeah.
point. He gave an analogy. The analogy I will give is that these people have been called in to go and arrest armed robbers. They go, they don't find armed robbers, but they find pickpockets or people who are dealing in drugs. And you are saying that we sent you to go and catch armed robbers, you didn't get them, and you arrested drug dealers. So don't bring the drug dealers to trial. That is not the matter.
Okay.
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
He has contravened serious laws in this country.
Yes, 2 minutes.
The
Go ahead.
fact that they discovered this evidence does not make you ultra-virus.
Roxanne,
Can
with the greatest respect,
Shraj entertain
with the
this matter?
greatest respect to
It
you,
can.
if you
My
bring
question
a
to you, can
petition
Shraj
before,
entertain this matter?
no, I'll explain why.
Okay.
If you bring a petition before somebody, if Shraj had in their letter to the minister indicated that give us information about your assets as well, then fine. And then he gave the information and left out those, and their findings prove that he left out something, they can take
They
it on.
refer the petition to you.
Please,
The
hold on.
content
Did
of
they
the
put-
petition.
Hold on. Did they put in that petition, the content of that petition and whatever letter Shraj wrote, was there any provision there talking about the minister declaring his access to Shraj?
No.
Conflict of
Conflict
interest
Hold on.
situation.
Yes. Hold on. So I'm
Then
coming
you
there.
don't understand
I'm
conflict
coming
of
there.
interest
I'm coming
arising
there.
out
And I
of
know you
what?
do.
Please hold on. Hold on. So first of all, they made this particular finding, and you have indicated, and I totally disagree with the line of argument you raised, that a judge has retired into chambers. Something was not adduced in evidence, but he has come across it and he uses it in his judgment.
No, I said something
My
was
goodness.
accused. Two pieces of evidence, one contradicting the other.
Hold on.
And you are asking that
How does that?
to read
But
on the
see
constitution.
again, there's going to be something very interesting, very interesting and novel, because Shraj came to certain conclusions, amongst which they said that he did not declare his assets. 3 of them. That's one of the
was a
conclusions.
finding.
A finding they
They
made.
didn't comment on
Very
it,
well.
I think.
That was a finding they made.
fact.
And they are saying that it's a finding of what? Fact. On the basis of which somebody is now coming back to Shraj. You have found for a fact that Mr. A has done this. Is that correct?
So
Is Shraj going to
pronounce that he has committed conflict of
conflict of
He's
interest?
guilty.
That's what they are coming now
Yes.
to do.
And you say they can't do?
No, because they are going to be footballers and referees.
1 minute.
And it will be very interesting. They will be footballers and referees.
Okay, thank you.
I'm reading
Your 1
exactly-
minute and then Kweku finishes on
I'm reading
conflict of
exactly
interest.
where my friend here, Roxanne
Read, yeah.
286 subsection 3. It says the asset declaration made under clause 1 of this article shall on demand
And Shraj can make the demand
Thank you.
using its investigators.
Thank you.
And
That's what I'm
they
saying.
did.
No, hold on. Bro, just second frolic to Shraj is fine. Now it will be demanded. Ken will have the room to produce it, and then they can go into it properly. I beg.
You will demand it from Auditor General.
Whatever.
That's okay.
It's on demand. What I'm saying is
Refile
that
it.
in the first situation, that was not the issue.
Oh, it was.
No,
It was.
Broja took all these
How will you
things there.
determine interest in properties? if
Hold
you
on,
don't
let
assess?
look in your frolic as you move around. If you find something and you want to deal with it, come back and properly demand it as you should in law, as is provided for here. But don't make statements. Free statements make general statements. But when you haven't given the person sufficient enough time to explain.
Kofi, do you find, for example, the content of this writ before the Supreme Court a matter of a frolic in what? In fantasy?
Frolic in fantasy.
Do you find that's what you find?
You are using expressions.
No, look, it's a frolic. I'm not using it unadvisedly.
Okay, thank you. Let's hear
Please,
Kweku.
you see-
We're done. Let's hear Kweku.
It must be
I may
properly
be tempting
demanded.
you to contempt, so stop. Let's hear Kweku.
See,
It must be
I have to
demanded.
be honest with you. I have no difficulty with Shraj proceeding to
assess the declaration form
Okay.
of the minister. I have no difficulty with that.
Okay.
In view of the nature of the allegations, talking about friends, making that observation, or you call it finding, did not give Ken an opportunity. It looks as if Sraj, you see, if you look at the CI 67, that's the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Investigations Procedure Regulations 2010. If they had gone, it looks as if they adopted the informal approach,
Which is
interviewed everybody on their own. There was not an opportunity for people to contest each other. So the petitioner, the complainant never met. Yeah, the petitioner, the complainant never ever had an encounter with a respondent. It never happened. Everybody was met separately.
that is a procedure allowed by
Allowed.
law for Shraj.
Allowed.
Good.
But you see, in making that thing, it means the commission, I'm quoting 3.6, that is regulation 3.6, rule. The commission may forward a report of its preliminary investigations to the parties for their comments. That is, if you are doing full investigations.
Okay.
Where the commission decides to institute full investigations into a complaint or an allegation, the commission shall invite a person likely to be affected by the investigation, a person that the commission may consider necessary to assist in the investigation. The invitation from the commission shall be in writing and shall state the date, time, and place of the meeting. Apparently, because the commission itself was minded that access declaration per se, in terms of its strict sense, was not what it was investigating, they might have thought that, look, it's no big deal, but forgetting that putting it in the report would raise all sorts of issues. So I think procedurally, once they found that if they wanted further and better particulars, the respondent's attention should have been called to it.
Okay.
See, the access declaration, we are journalists, we are very, difficult animals. If you take a look at the access declaration, Ken put in there data bank. That's what he put in there. Now, really, is there a company called Data Bank in the true sense of the word? The commission comes to the point about data bank.
Brokerage or holdings.
It is observed that the respondent had other assets which he did not disclose in his assets declaration form. They include his interest in Data Bank Financial Services Limited and Data Bank Brokerage Limited. These two. On the assets, you see Data Bank. The respondent, in this case the minister, rather, in terms of contest, put Data Bank there, thinking it covers all these bodies. It's strict, no, but it's the truth. That's why calling his attention to it may have led to explanation. And if the commission was not satisfied, it will so put it there. It helps.
All right. We'll go on a break here.
Yeah.
Coco, you have exhausted the question.
I hear you.
We'll go on a break here. When we return, Auditor General rejects 5.4 billion Ghana cedis as claims that were being made on the government.
You know something? I want to be rude. The Public Financial Management Act thing,
Right.
of course, which falls outside the jurisdiction of, is one of those things that Shad had no jurisdiction about. I was saying that what was being done previously was not wrong. I have not said it was wrong.
Okay.
See, in October 2016, January 2017, March 2017, we did all those things.
Right. Yes.
Because Article 181, clauses 1 and 2, covers the domestic bonds once it's captured in the budget and approved.
Okay.
Am I right?
These are notorious facts, and those who want
all
to be
the
sincere
same
will
things you have been
admit them.
complaining about.
So when we return, the Auditor General rejects 5.4 billion Ghana cedis that are being claimed on the government, and he has issued disallowance. Says, don't pay. If you pay, you are in trouble. If you have already paid, what happens to you? And has also advised prosecutions. He says, IOCO, Attorney General, and other prosecutorial agencies, I suspect he wanted to say Martin Amidu, should take up the rest of it. We'll find out about the disturbing revelations, including double payments for contracts. We'll be right back. And welcome to Newsfire.
Good morning.
Yes, what can you report? What is this fighting about?
Well, you know that there is a deep-seated sort of rivalry between Muslim or Zongo youth in Apo, Eja, Pankono, and Zambaran. If you remember, there was a clash here about a year or two ago, which resulted in some fatality. Now, yesterday we are learning that here at Eja, on the Sapo Pankono stretch, some Ashanti youth were doing what they call soloku. They play music and then they dance to it. We understand that some people you joined and they decided to enjoy the pleasure as well. But then they protested. You don't want them to join, but then they did, and it resulted in some scuffle. This morning, the youth clashed. In fact, cause of them throwing stones at each other using weapons, machetes, and all that. And so the police have to come in first, and then the military currently has joined in, a number of them armed, and I understand they have to fire warning shots, which affected some of the people. I'm learning that an unconfirmed number, about 3 of the youth, sustained some gunshot wounds. Some of them also sustained wounds from the clash between the two fading parties, and so they have been rushed to the hospital. I have seen a number of them also arrested by the police military patrol here at the moment. But then all roads have been blocked. In fact, when it comes to the Ezra section leaving Pampong, and the road has been blocked by the military and police, so no vehicle is going through the Ezra section to Pampong. And so this particular road is blocked. There are armed police and military personnel behind that barrier. There's a number of youth who are also still here, some of them holding implements, also standing on the other. And so that's the situation here at the Sapo area. But if you have time, briefly, there is an eyewitness here who I want to explain briefly what happened leading to this. Well, I'm afraid most sorry, sorry, 8 o'clock, go feel it is so move, 8. What's her name? You prepare. Iba ko masha mi huno Abdul Majid and Sino memra kwem part me ba kwem na da jini wo enti me say the other side I say crowd me ba mi wa no ma say ta ma ko no ma ko stores and a zongo for no wo to ko kwa central line no de di wo ni wa chini ya tu mi na group part na ni e ba na say zongo for no say dai e en but me me yire me mangi na e ko say de en lo kwi. So he's telling me that he came here, he heard shouts, and then he came out, and people were shouting that they are coming. I asked him who was coming. He said the Ashanti youth were coming to attack the youth, Zongo youth. And then he tried to look for his children, but he couldn't find them. He came out, and he saw that there was a clash. People's work have been destroyed. Those selling food and other things outside their work have been destroyed on the road. It wasn't easy at all. That's what he's trying to tell me.
All right. Okay.
Currently, as I speak with you,
thank you, Erastus. Keep following up on that story and bring us a lot more detail about it. Very disturbing. And I have a colleague, a lawyer in Kumasi, who is just sending me this to confirm what is going on and saying that because of this, he's been stuck in traffic for over 2 hours, driving from a very small point to the next. 2 hours. He wants to give up and just turn back, but it looks like there's no even space to turn back and go where you want to go. All right, very disturbing there. But thankfully, the police and the military are in. I've seen the footages. They are absolutely in control. That's good. Let's see how it really says that he does not also fall the Auditor General, but believes that, for example, the Auditor General has written to the ministries and departments to write back and give their comments. Some of them have not. If you have not written back and commented, then they go with what they have.
Sam, in fact, that is what the law allows.
Yes.
So they do it.
Exactly.
You see, so even before your name appears here, there are about 3 stages of cross-references.
Right.
They'll give you opportunity. If you don't, they'll keep writing. They give you all sorts of opportunity to defend.
What he doesn't like is that the Auditor General doesn't like is that the law allows him to give them 30 days to respond with their comments. But you know, government places, they will never respond. You give them reminders, they will not respond. So what he did was that he gave them an additional 30 days. After which, if you didn't send your response,
that's like
he went
extension
ahead
of
and
time.
finished.
And you know that even before public accounts, when they come, some now come to the public account and now
with their comments.
Yes.
Okay.
They'll come and defend their position.
Let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll hear the Honorable Yunus Afuseni and the Auditor General Daniel Yao Domelevo on what is at stake, and then we'll see if we have the opportunity to say something about the minority report of the cash for seats saga.
If you read the report, the final report, we also found that some of the contractors have actually been overpaid before they are submitting the claim. I have activated my constitutional mandate under Article 187 Clause 7 to disallow. And that means before payment can be done, people have to go to the High Court and the court has to overturn my decision. That is one. Two, the prosecution side, we have recommended that the government take it further because I don't have prosecutory power. So it is now in the court of the Attorney General or any of the prosecuting agents to take it over.
It cannot be done that a contractor is paid twice.
So how did this happen? How did this happen?
Is he going to use the support to a payment twice? Which documents? Because the documents that you will use to support payment are the same documents that the Minister of Finance will rely upon and pay you. So which documents again will you generate for additional payment? I fail to see it, to be honest with you. I fail to see how the same documents can be generated twice for payment. I also fail to see how payment can be done without documentation.
This man, you are so funny.
I fail to
You know
see
the
it.
Ghana idea.
So what you're saying
quiet.
now, or what you're seeking,
Seriously,
what you're seeking to do now
who
is
is
to
that?
question the Auditor General's report. Is that what it is, Mr. Yunus Afuseni?
No, I'm seeking to say that I think that you want an
Yunus
explanation.
Afuseni, please
so,
be
right,
quiet.
so.
You know the Ghana idea.
MFR as the
You
head
telling
of the
us that
Ministry of
you
Roads and
in Ghana
Highways
people cannot be
between the
paid
period of
twice.
2014 and
How do we get
2017.
ghost names?
I'm telling you that I fail to see how payments can be
Please be
effective
quiet.
without documentation.
Please be
But
quiet.
there's a classic
Without
case.
documentation, you
Auditor
think
General might
you know the Ghana
question the
idea.
documentation. Might want further and better.
This man,
information
sometimes
on
you
the
talk a
contract.
lot of sense. Sometimes you talk a lot of
In
crap
the
too.
view of
Honestly,
the Auditor General,
just because it's your political party that was in power, then look at the
but
sort of
no
crap you are
payment can be
going on,
done
mouthing all
without
over the place.
documentation. And I tell you on authority, it cannot be done.
Cannot be done. Where have you been?
All right, so
Cannot be done.
obviously
Jesus
backstage you were also
Christ.
expressing your
How do people just
disappointment
close
about
their
this. I
eyes
remember
and
the
their
last time we
mind
had to
and
talk
they
about
support
how
anything at
people
all?
deliberately fleece
You know,
the
you
country.
live in
How
Ghana,
took
you
us
are a
through
former
history
minister,
and,
you are a politician,
you know,
and you
how
are
you
saying that
were
if people
spot
want
on
to
about how
take the
to
country to
deal
the
with such
cleanest,
people
they
uncompromisingly.
cannot find a
You
way
know,
of being
Well,
paid twice.
I would like to repeat that perhaps
Honestly.
the strongest steps today.
since I remember the last time we had to talk about how people deliberately fleece the country, how you took
They
us
just
through
take the
history
country
and
to the bloody cleanest.
how you
These are things that
were
I say we need a
spot on
radical,
about how
ruthless
to deal with
approach
such people
to
uncompromisingly.
sanitize the system.
Well, I would like to repeat that perhaps the strongest
If
steps
you're a
today.
witch,
You see,
you
the
must be
report,
hunted.
let me take it from this premise.
What's the
Let's
problem?
assume
If
for
you're
a
not a
moment
witch, what's your problem?
that at the end of the analysis of the whole issue on this particular report, half of the
Witch
money
hunting,
is
witch hunting,
justification
witch
for the
hunting.
payment.
Witch
Let's say
hunting,
half
if you
is
haven't done
justification
anything wrong,
and the other
what is
half
your
is no
problem?
justification. Then we have been saving close to
Just
3
using witch
billion Ghana
hunting
cedis. Let's assume for even a moment
Right.
that
way
those
of
contractors
trying
who are going to come in,
to
the number of
impede
contractors who
a
are going to come in to
process
provide
to look
justifications
into
and
who has done
ministries,
what and
that
who
at the
is
end will be
really, really
upheld. It's
wickedly
just about half.
taking the
Let's
country to
assume
the
for a
cleanest.
moment. We would have been
Crying
saving
witch hunting.
so much money.
You're right.
Samson, every day we go cap in
But
hand.
from the painstaking, beautiful job that the Auditor General has done, do you think that
I'm going into the wildest conjecture.
to the
The wildest conjecture. That's what I'm just
This
going into.
Auditor General must be
And we even say
protected.
that we have it.
We need such
What
people
is
to
left?
support
Do we
and
need to go
protect
cap
them.
in hand begging?
We don't need to.
Do we
We
need to
don't
do
need
that?
to. I always say, Ghana, we
This
don't need
systemic
to be
failure and
that
institutional corruption
down
that we're
there
talking
with
about
nothing
is what is
and
killing us as a nation.
debt and everything.
But again,
Systematic
let
failure
me
is
shift a little
true.
focus here. It
It's been
appears to
going
me
on
that the
for the
attention
last
all the
at least
time is on
25 years.
political office holders.
Exactly. But they
If
are
you
the
know what
overseers.
happens in
You see,
various
this is
offices
where I disagree with
leading to
people.
major decisions
The
taken by these
political
political
office
office holders.
holders, they are the overseers. They are doing it. So when these
I
people are doing it, they
watched
don't
something on WhatsApp yesterday and I was making a good laugh.
really
A young man
say
in Nigeria
anything.
said there should be mass burial of certain category of people to save the nation. You know, Samson, it's a very serious matter. And what we are doing, which is very funny to me though, is that we've conscripted ourselves into talk shops over the years. No action.
Yep.
These beautiful books gather dust every day.
Yep.
This book will be reproduced very soon. And I was very excited about what Uncle Kweku said. He said that most of the things is just the quantum. So we recycle these things. What practical steps are we taking
Exactly.
to address it? I'm very certain beyond a shred of doubt that from the way we are unanimous as a country, when it goes before Public Accounts Committee and they come out with their recommendations, people will be picked up.
Yeah.
And the issues will
You
be
have
dealt
you have
with.
some good people in parliament too. But
Otherwise, we're going
the
to continue
crap
to
people
tickle
are too
ourselves and
many.
laugh
So all
in this
these
particular
people,
country
they are
that we're going to
silenced.
take action and
Look
we're
at
not
this
taking it.
man,
I
very
believe that this will be the
level-headed.
beginning of the end of impunity.
Exactly.
So that all of us will support. Again, when it comes to that, and the Office of Attorney General or the CID, IOCO, or other offices are taking decisive actions, people should not cry about witch hunting. Because if people are witches, they ought to be hunted.
Right.
That's right. If people are witches, they ought to be bloody hunted. What's your problem? If you are not a witch, that is where when I hear people saying, "Oh, we have to fight corruption. We have to fight corruption," and when people are trying to do their job to look into possible corrupt activities, then they also turn around and cry witch hunting. Witch hunting. Just to get away with impunity, we cry witch hunting. What is wrong with us? What do we want as a nation? If you are not a witch, what's your problem? Seriously, if you are not a witch, what's your problem? Are we in a military regime? You have your day in court. You will have your day in court. You will be invited, questioned. You will have your day in court. You will have your day in court because you will be put through the process of prosecution. So, what is our problem of witch hunting? We should stop using that term in Ghana because we allow wicked, callous people to get away with murder, and we create more of those people because we do nothing about those who have done it. So, people, even people who want to do the right thing, they can't do it. And some people are even corrupted in the process. Yes, that's what happens. Exactly, that is what happens. You know, the system is designed to create corrupt people. If you are a man of integrity and if you don't have the courage to support your convictions to protect the kind of integrity you have, the level of integrity you have, you will be corrupted by the system. You have to put those convictions into practice. Because you can just say it. If you don't put them into practice, then you will be corrupted eventually. That is how the system is designed to. And the people who benefit from it, they want to keep the status quo. They want to keep the way the system is being run so that they can all get away with their criminality. And in the process, they create more criminals in suit and cover so that they are covered. It's as simple as that. And so if we talk about institutionalized corruption, the systematic failure of how the institutions are corrupted, you see, who are in charge of all institutions? It's the politicians. Every government institutions is under a ministry, and the head of every ministry is a political appointee, a minister of state. So if you're a minister of state and you think one of your functions is not to make sure that any act of corruption is dealt with, investigated, and crimes are prosecuted, then you are condoning that. You are condoning because probably you are also doing the same thing. So when people talk about the kind of impunity of institutionalized corruption by public non-politicians, servants who are non-politicians, then you ask yourself, the buck stops where? At political leaders. The buck stops at political leadership. It's leadership, leadership, leadership. So I really, most of the time, I don't want to talk about the results of the kind of failure that we have, but the causes of it. What are the root causes of it? The root causes of it is political leadership failure. The leadership of a country is political, and those are the people who have got the power to make sure that laws are enforced. So if they are not doing it, you can't go and blame people who are human beings. Everywhere they are the same. They adapt. We adapt. We don't reform. Listen, human beings, we adapt. We don't reform. We adapt to conform. We can adapt to conform in a crap system like Ghana, dysfunctional, systematically failed system, to conform to the canker of corruption, impunity, indiscipline that runs through all levels of society. Or we adapt to conform to a well progressive system that has got checks and balances and oversight responsibility. We'll conform to that. We never reform. When the system is going downhill, we will conform to it so that we'll survive. That's human nature. 99% of human beings will conform to any system because our first instinct as human is survival. Our first instinct is survival. So what do I do to survive? If it's a good system that has got laws enforced and things are done as much as possible so that the right things must be done by all, will conform. If the system is so loose that anything goes and anybody can do anything they want, our survival instinct still kicks in and we'll conform to that. So please, political leadership in Ghana, put your act together, screw your heads on your neck properly, and be radical, ruthless to the canker that is sinking our country. Once again, God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation greater and stronger, and help our political leaders to be ruthlessly radical. This is your brother YK as usual on behalf of Common Purpose Alliance Ghana, CPAG for short. It is all about Ghana first. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.